In recent years, the rise of KContent has become one of South Korea's greatest cultural triumphs, spanning film, television, music, and digital entertainment. Yet rarely has a fantasy drama sparked such fierce division as Perfect Crown, a massive 30 billion won production starring Byun Woo-suk and IU. What makes the controversy remarkable is that public debate is no longer centered on acting quality, ratings, or promotional buzz. Instead, South Korea now finds itself in a symbolic cultural battle. Should a production accused of cultural inaccuracies be completely erased? Behind what appears to be a debate over a television drama lies a far larger question concerning the balance between protecting national identity, preserving artistic freedom, and safeguarding the future of South Korea's entertainment industry. When a fantasy drama is judged like historical truth. Perfect Crown was originally conceived as a romantic fantasy set within a fictional constitutional monarchy and royal family in Korea. At its heart is the coming-of-age story and romance between Grand Prince Leon and Song Hee-ju, portrayed by Byun Woo-suk and IU. Fundamentally, this is not a historical drama in the traditional sense. It does not claim to recreate a real dynasty, nor was it designed as historical education. However, the project entered dangerous territory by blending fictional storytelling with recognizable national cultural symbols. Critics behind the petition argue that the drama incorporated costumes, ceremonial practices, and language that appeared heavily influenced by Chinese aesthetics despite being framed within a Korean setting. For many, this transcends a simple artistic oversight and touches directly upon national cultural identity. What intensified public anger was a growing feeling of betrayal among domestic audiences. In South Korea, historical and cultural identity has long remained highly sensitive, particularly amid broader regional debates over cultural ownership and representation. A robe, hairstyle, or ceremonial detail that may seem minor elsewhere can quickly become politically and emotionally charged. As Perfect Crown came under scrutiny for allegedly insufficient cultural research, outrage rapidly expanded beyond entertainment discourse. From production errors to a death sentence for an entire work. Perhaps the most shocking aspect of the controversy is not criticism itself, but the severity of punishment demanded by part of the public. A national petition submitted to South Korea's National Assembly, demanding the suspension of distribution across platforms and the complete cancellation of the drama, surpassed 50,000 signatures, enough to move forward for official review. At that moment, the debate entered more dangerous territory. If a fictional drama can be effectively erased due to disputed costume design, dialogue, or aesthetic interpretation, a troubling precedent may emerge. Will creators in the future still feel safe taking artistic risks? Notably, MBC announced plans to remove scenes considered controversial. In entertainment industries worldwide, editing problematic material, issuing apologies, and revising content are common forms of accountability. Yet many viewers insisted such measures were insufficient. From this perspective, Perfect Crown became more than a flawed television drama. It evolved into a symbol of what critics see as carelessness toward cultural heritage. Why supporters of Perfect Crown are not entirely wrong. While one side demands cancellation, another asks whether the punishment outweighs the offense. Supporters of revision over destruction argue that Perfect Crown is fundamentally a romantic narrative rather than political messaging or historical propaganda. They emphasize the drama's artistic contributions, visually compelling reinterpretations of traditional Korean aesthetics, modernized hanbok-inspired costume design, elaborate palace visuals, and cinematic production values praised for their beauty. Many online viewers argue that dismissing the production's artistic achievements over a limited number of controversial details feels deeply unfair. This raises an important question: are audiences confusing accountability with eradication? Mistakes should be corrected. But correction is not the same as annihilation. A mature creative industry typically evolves through criticism, revision, and improvement, not through an unforgiving logic in which one mistake becomes grounds for permanent elimination. KContent's greatest fear: will investors walk away? This concern explains why numerous Korean media commentators have approached calls for cancellation with caution. 30 billion won represents far more than a production budget. Behind the number stands an enormous industrial ecosystem: writers, directors, costume teams, technicians, CGI specialists, advertisers, international distributors, streaming platforms, and countless supporting workers. If Perfect Crown were ultimately erased under public pressure, consequences would likely extend far beyond one commercial disappointment. The message sent to international investors would be unmistakable: South Korea's market may be deeply unpredictable. A large-scale, globally partnered production worth tens of billions of won could disappear because of social backlash. At a time when KContent competes globally against Hollywood, Japan, and China, unpredictability becomes a serious concern. Few investors are eager to commit capital to a market where public sentiment can override even the most carefully structured business calculations. Perfect Crown has become a national test for South Korea. Ultimately, the debate surrounding Perfect Crown may never have been solely about one television series. Instead, it confronts South Korea with a difficult challenge: how can a nation protect cultural identity without turning creativity into a space governed by fear? No one denies that inadequate cultural research deserves criticism. No one argues that creators should avoid responsibility. Yet perhaps what is needed now is not a symbolic execution, but a transparent and proportionate process of correction. Because in art, the most frightening thing is not necessarily a flawed work, but the moment society begins to believe that every mistake can only be resolved through complete erasure.